So it's clear that the world is like changing severely because I'm like talking about this. This is not something I ever thought I'd be talking about, but because the world is changing, and as it changes even more, I get confused, like as to what the hell is going on. I don't really know. I don't understand the difference between like imagination or satire and reality. I just don't anymore. At least I feel like I don't, because what I thought was like a real concrete fact 10 years ago is like just kind of blown up in my face, really. I can only speak for me because like this is just how I perceive the world, but that's just what it's been, and I'm not really trying to say that with a negative connotation. That's just what it is, right? The world is changing, so me paying attention to something like this, honestly, I'm gonna just sit here and try to figure it out, right? I'm gonna just sit here and try to figure out what's going on. I'm not even gonna really try to I mean, it's gonna be hard not to. I'm going to try not to really give a concrete opinion on what it is that I'm about to talk about. I'm just going to sit here and try to figure it out, like a math problem. We're going to do that. In front of me, I'm looking at this headline. It says, transgender businesswoman buys Miss Universe Pageant for $20 million. Then right under it, it says, oh man, that is a really hard word to say, Jackapong. And then I'm not even going to try to go for that third name. Let's try it. Jackra Ju Oh, dang.
That today, Junior.
The CEO of the Thailand-based JKN Global Group is the first woman to own the global beauty pageant organization, that being the Miss Universe Pageant. I read that and I'm like, what?
What? What the fuck?
The headline is classifying this individual as transgender, but like the underlying heading classifies this individual as a woman. And the thought of, well, this was a biological male, so someone who was born a male who is transitioned into female or a woman or one of those words, has now purchased this pageant and has been recognized as the first woman to own the Miss Universe pageant. And like I said, I scratch my head because I just get so confused. I genuinely do. And because I'm confused, like I said, I'm just gonna try to break it down, right? What's going on in my head. Try to break down the thoughts and opinions that I have, and hopefully come to some sort of conclusion. But before I do that, I want to play this speech that this person gave. It's very odd to me, right? Like this is gonna be a hard one because I don't know what the hell is going on, but this individual, and I'm going to use specific terms, and I'm going to be very authentic in how I describe this person. This biological male, so born male who is transitioned into female, now identifies as a transgender individual, is giving a speech at this pageant, this Miss Universe pageant, on like feminism and women. Just watch, listen, enjoy.
From now on, it's gonna be ran by women.
Women.
Owned by trans women. For all women.
Women.
For all women really around the world to celebrate the power of feminism.
Now, I'm just so confused, right? I'm so confused. So I'm gonna try to start at square one of my confusion, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion. My biggest question, though, is just how do females feel about this, right? Because I'm trying my best to use the quote unquote correct terms for the times that we are living in, right? Because me saying woman apparently is not the same thing as me saying female. Now, I understand that gender and sex, even though I believe that they're very similar, I understand that a large contingent of the population believes that they are two distinctly different things, right? So in an effort to not lose those people, I'm going to be explicit. At least I'm going to try to when I speak on these things. So females, right? You are born a female and you go through things on a biological level, right? Just naturally that females go through. How does this make you feel? That is my question. Because I can give my thoughts and opinions on this all day long, I can. But it is very odd if then I say that, hey, this might seem offensive, right? If this individual who was born a male transitions into a woman and is being recognized as the first woman to own this pageant and is going on stage and giving a speech about women or feminism, like, to me, that would feel a bit offensive because you weren't born this way. And like, biology isn't like an opinion, it's a fact, it's a science, it is something that just is. Now, you can try to manipulate it, but you can't completely change it. So, as a female, I feel as though a lot of this would offend me. But at that same time, if I am a male talking about this, and there are a lot of females who are clearly in the crowd cheering, well, then I'm even more confused because I'm like, well, I feel like if anybody should be offended, it should be you. But you're like up clapping for this individual who was born a male who now identifies as a woman, telling you about feminism, telling you about like womanhood, and is being recognized as what you were born as. So, like I said, I guess that's where my confusion stems from, right? Is when I look at the world, I see purpose, right? I see that things are the way they are for a purpose, right? It is like life is this puzzle, and how certain things are is crucial to ensure like the stability of that puzzle, so to speak, right? And if you kind of go against that grain, well now it's just, well, now you just have a bunch of pieces that it just don't fit. But I mean, maybe that's the goal, right? Everybody kind of just wants to be able to do what they want without any barriers. And ideally, that sounds great. But then at that same time, it's like, well, once you open up that Pandora's box, essentially you're never really going to be able to close it. Number one, because the vast majority of people don't want to. And number two, it's very, very hard to close it, even if you do want to. Even if you want to, after it's open, it's very hard to close it. So now, like, the floodgates are open to like an endless amount of possibilities for what people can be and what people can do. And that's not always a good thing. I talked about this before. I gave the example. Like, if one day I wake up and I say I want to be a bird, am I justified in snatching a bird out of the sky, ripping its wings off, stapling them to my back, or getting them surgically attached to my back, going up to the roof, and then jumping off? Would that make me sane, right? Because I believe that I'm a bird and people should respect that, right? Also, birds don't pay taxes, so I should be exonerated of all that. I shouldn't have to ever pay taxes ever again, right? Now, I'm a domesticated bird, so I should be able to live in the house that I'm still in, but I shouldn't be subject to any other responsibilities that a human being has because I identify as a bird. But like I said, if I go to the roof and I jump off and I'm not flying, like, wouldn't somebody look at me and say, oh, well, you're crazy? Well, what gives you the right to do that? But then if it's a different situation in which, like, one person looks at another person who was born a male but now identifies as the opposite sex or gender, and is then telling those people who were actually born female about femininity, about womanhood, well, that would be considered transphobic. Now, I've talked before on this about like the frustration that I possess with that label, right? Transphobic. And I've been met with a rebuttal, which I respect, that, you know, it's not really the end of the world if you are labeled that, which in some cases that's true, but in other cases that can really tarnish your legacy if you were just giving an opinion on something, maybe because of your beliefs, or maybe because of something that you said 10 years ago that nobody would have, you know, like, looked twice at. They would have just looked at that as, you know, the norm, and now it's completely different, right? Like, your whole reputation can be ruined because of that. So like I said, when I look at something like this, I just get very confused, because if I wanted to go the bird route, would people look at me and say that that's a sane individual? Would people look at me and say that I'm justified in doing that? And would the government or the powers that be, would they acknowledge that and then treat me as such, right? And then when it comes down to kids, because, you know, children are, you know, being involved in this as well, or they're being taught about sexuality and, you know, identifying as X, Y, or Z. And in some areas, you know, these kids, depending on their age, are, you know, allowed to get surgery or put on hormone replacement therapy. If my kid came to me and said, hey, Dad, I want to be a bird. And once again, I went through the same process. I took that bird out of the sky, I, you know, chopped its wings off, and I surgically attached them to my son's back or my daughter's back or whoever. And then I said, yes, I'm affirming this identity. Go fly. And then my kid jumps off the roof and meets his or her demise. Well, am I a responsible parent because I was affirming my child's identity contrary to what they naturally are? Or am I now subject to be held criminally responsible because I allowed my child to do this? Like where's the line? Because like one thing is fine and then the other thing is not. But once again, who's to say, right? But then at this point, does it really matter? Because the box is open. And anything that comes to someone's imagination, it can just be let out. And once again, this is coming from a genuine place of confusion, because I look at this and at first glance, yeah, I see a woman because freaking surgery and operations have become extremely advanced. But when I do research and I even hear this individual talk, and it's confirmed to me that this individual is transgender. So without a shadow of a doubt, not my opinion, born a male, right? That is what is in like the very fibers of your being, right? 1,000 years from now, you're dug up and like that will be what it is, right? Because it's in your bones that you are a male, and then you transition and you are talking to biological females, born females, about femininity, about womanhood. Like I said, it's just confusing to me. And I can go on and on and on, but I mean, I'm genuinely curious as to what females think of this, because I'm so damn confused. I don't freaking know what to say anymore.